This is Module 1, Lesson 4. We're going to look at using sig figs in our calculations. Never in chemistry will you hear someone tell you to round your answers to blank number of decimal places. You're going to always use your sig fig rules in order to round your answers, and it works that way in college level chemistry, AP Chem while you're in high school, and in the real world when you do a job that uses sig figs. So our first rule has to do with addition and subtraction. Now, unfortunately, different math operations have different rules. So when you're doing addition and subtraction, your rule is that you're going to round your answers to the least number of decimal places in the problem. So as long as you have a number with decimals in it, it's all about the decimals. So let's do this first one to explain that rule. So here we have 22.4 plus 3.52. And I may not be the best in the world at doing this in terms of drawing a line, but we'll find out. So with 22.4, you have one decimal place. And with 0.352, you have two decimal places. So what we're going to do is we're going to do regular math. We're going to write our answers down. And I don't know how I keep making this box pop up. I'm going to have to figure that out. So that's 0.9252, so 25.92. Okay, this one has one decimal place, this one has two. What is less out of those? 1. We're going to cut our answers off after the first decimal place. A lot of people draw lines in order to see, that you keep everything on the left side and you drop everything on the right. Now, at this point, this is regular math class rounding. You're rounding this to the 10th place. You look at what's beside of it, it's a 2. If there's a 2 beside of it, remember if it's 4 or less, you round down, and if it's 5 or more, you round up. Or when I say round down, like you stay the same. So we're keeping the 9. What next door is a 2? So our answer is going to be 25.9. That's our final answer to this problem. We knew to round it there because one decimal place was the least out of those problems. So what if you have a number without a decimal place? So if you do not have a decimal place, you're going to round your answer to the leftmost digit, which is not a 0. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you'll stick with me just a minute, if we do this first problem, and you do the math for this, you'll get 23.5 as your answer. 30 minus 6.5 is 23.5. So, okay, this one has one decimal place. This has none. So what I said is find the number that's not got a decimal. In that case, that'd be our 30. You find the leftmost digit, which isn't a 0. Well, this one's a 0, so that's not it. So you work your way left. Here's the next one. Oh, good. It's this one. This is the place value that I get to keep. I get to keep the tens place. So I'm going to have to cut off everything after the tens place. So that means I can keep the 2, but I can't keep the 3 and I can't keep the 5. Now, you still have to keep place values. So this is in the tens place. It's going to round to 20. It's going to round down to 20. So you still have to keep the same meaning. I can't change it to the number 2 because there's a big difference between 2 and 20. So all I did was found my leftmost number that wasn't a 0, and that's what I got to keep out of everything. Okay, we're going to repeat both of these as we keep going. So with this one, if you do your addition, you get 727. You get 172.73. All right. They both have decimals, so this is about decimal places. This one has 2 decimal places. This one has 1 decimal place. What's less? 1. Another way to do it is to draw your line and keep everything everything before that line and get rid of everything after it. So I've got 172, and then the 7 is going to stay a 7 because what next door to it is a 3. So my final answer is 172.7. Okay, if we subtract this one, we'll get 0.0015. All right, they have decimal places. This one has 4 decimal places. It's not about significance, but it has 4 decimal places. This one has 3 decimal places. So I'm going to keep everything like up to 3 decimal places. I can keep the 0, and the 1, and I didn't do this very well to be able to draw my line. I can keep everything up to the 1, except there's a 5 next door to it, so that is going to round us to a 2. So 0.002 would be my answer to this one. That's 3 decimal places, and That's the least of the decimal places that's up here in the top. This next one, it does not have a decimal place. It is 3730. So if there's no decimal places, I told you to go to each one and find the leftmost digit which wasn't a 0. The leftmost digit in this one that's not a 0 is a 5. It's in the hundreds place. The leftmost digit in this one that's not a 0 is the 3. It's in the tens place. Which one of those is more left? The 5. The 5 is further left. So what that means is I'm cutting everything off after the hundreds place. That 7 is up here in the hundreds place. 37 is what I get to keep. Okay, I can't just change it to 37. I still have to put the placeholder zeros after that to keep this as 3,700 and not just 37. Okay, usually in my face-to-face classes at this point, someone's going, well, what about this? Or what if you had these numbers? If you have questions, I need you to ask those of me. You can do it during office hours. You can do it through those. We'll have a conference where you can ask, or you can go over to the inbox part of Canvas. This is over here on the left-hand side. You can go to your inbox, and you have the option to compose a new message up here. And you should be able to choose who to send it to. So you should be able to send me a message directly through Canvas, and you should be able to do that fairly easily, or you can email it to me. Okay, now on to an easier rule is multiplication and division. The answers here are simply going to round to basically the least number of sig figs in the problem. The way I put it up here was they're going to round to the same number of sig figs as the measurement with the least in the problem. So I've already done the math of these. This one in your calculator is going to say 17,952. Well, this one has 4 sig figs. This one has 2 sig figs. What's less? 2. That means I can keep the first 2 digits we start keeping from the left. Everything after that has to go. So all we're doing is rounding like math class. I need to round this 7. There's a 9 next door to it, so it's going to go up. So my answer will be 18,000, or you could say 1.8 times 10 to the 4th. Those are the same number. Okay, they both have 2 sig figs. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, if you do this one in the calculator, your calculator is going to give you a ton of information, and I'm just writing this down. I simply cut it off at that point. It's like the screen is full. So we look up top. This one has 2 sig figs. This one has 3 sig figs. What's less? 2. So I get to keep the first 2 digits, the 2 and the 5. What's next to this one? Somehow I do that. What's next to this one? A 5. That's going to round it up. So 2.6 will be my final answer for this problem. Okay, this next one. If you do this in your calculator, you're going to get 0.018846, and then again a bunch more stuff. So I just cut it off at that point. This one, this has 2 sig figs. Remember, we're just looking at these 2 digits. This one has 2 sig figs. So they both have 2. Now on this 0 is not significant. It's a 0. It's a number that's less than 1 with a decimal place. So you start counting from the first non-zero and go all the way to the end. So we're going to count these first 2 digits. So we get to put 0, 1, and then there's an 8 next to it. It'll bump it up to a 9. So 0.019. That'll be our answer for that one. That has 2 sig figs. This last one, if you punch it into the calculator, you get 593.275. All right, this has 4 sig figs. This has 2 sig figs. So we get to keep 2. 2 is the least. We get to keep the 5 and the 9. Again, you have to keep place value. So that's 5, 9, and then I still have to put a 0 on the end. That 0 is not significant. It's not sandwiched, and it's not after a decimal. It's not a decimal number. So I still need to keep this as 500s and 910, so 590. I can't change that. All right? I don't know why it says data security resources either. Don't ask me. Okay, so let's go on to one more thing. When we go into our last thing is what if you have both sets of rules? And the answer is you know, if you have both sets of rules, like here's addition and we're doing dividing, they have different sets of rules. We cannot round multiple times or we will drastically change our answers. So we're going to follow PEMDAS. Remember that? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, the order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. We're going to follow that, and we're going to round only at the end. So watch me, and I think it'll make sense as we go. With this one, according to PEMDAS, I need to do my parentheses first. So what that means is, to begin with, I am going to do this, and I'm going to line them up as best I can with my little on-screen pen. And this gives us 17.33. Okay, I'm going to mark some things, but I'm not actually going to round it just yet. So according to what we did before, based on decimal places, this has to be cut off right here. I can keep the 1, the 7, and the first 3, the 3 in the 10th place. I'm going to underline it as I use it from this point forward, but I'm not going to cut it off. I don't want to round this 3 off just yet because it'll change my final answer. I need to keep it, but I'm underlining this so I know that these 3 digits are significant for me moving forwards. So now, we are going to do 17.33 divided by 3.3. When you do that, your calculator says 5.2515, you know, and it keeps going for almost ever, okay? All right, so out of these, the 1, the 7, and the first 3 were significant. That's 3 sig figs. Even though I carried this with me, these first 3 are significant, and this one has 2 sig figs. What's less? 2. So I'm going to round it to 2 sig figs right here. The 5 and the 2 I get to keep. So my answer for this problem is going to be 5.3 because the 5 is going to round the 2 up. There is my final answer. Okay, here's another one. This one. If we do this top portion, if we do the parentheses first, this comes out to be 214.43, so says my calculator. Okay, out of these, this one has 3 sig figs, this one has 2. Normally, I would round this right now. I'd keep the 2 and the 1 and I'd round everything else off. But I don't want to get rid of that just yet. I need to keep that in my problem as I then subtract the rest of this. And when I subtract it, I get 212.328. Okay, now, as you know earlier, we talked about decimal places and addition and subtraction significance. Really, these are the only 2 that count. In reality, it's like these aren't even really here. We just brought them with us to do the math. So really, I only have the tens place. So we're going to round our answer off over here at the tens place. Simply because this one, in reality, does not have any decimal places, and its leftmost 0 that's, or its leftmost digit that's significant is in the tens place. It doesn't matter that this has all of these. I'm going to round this one to 210. That's going to be our answer for this one. This last one, when we do our math right here, 5.32 plus 6.251, that gives me 11.571. This one we go ahead and do. You have to take care of the parentheses first. This one gives me 2.00. Okay, on this one, we cut it off there. These 4 are significant. And on this one, all of them are actually significant because I did know them. I get to keep those zeros. Then what do? Then we do 11.57, 11.571, knowing that those 4 digits I get to keep, divided by 2.00, knowing that all 3 of those I get to keep. And it gives us an answer of 5.7855. All right. These have 4 digits that count. We have 4 underlined. This one has 3 digits that count. We have 3 underlined. What's less? 3. So I get to keep these 3, 5.79. All right, so I now have practice problems for you. What you need to do is go over there. You can keep rewatching this video, and I'm going to put some links from some other people that explain this the same way. You can watch them and you can watch me, but it's your chance to see what you need help with. Again, use the inbox or join me during the office hours so that we can talk more about what you need to do in order to fix your problems.